speaker with us. Without much ado, I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Prakash Devle, sir. Sir,
Yes, Milind.
yes, sir, you can continue.
Yeah, I hope I am
Yes,
audible.
yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah, just give me 1 minute.
Yes.
Is this first slide visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, fine. On behalf of Happiness Forum and Department of Information Technology, Bharati Vidyapeeth deemed to be University College of Engineering, Pune, I welcome all the participants to this webinar on science and spirituality. So let's begin.
Start. 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery, returning to the space station, paving the way for future missions beyond.
The smoke and smell of dangerous chemicals that are released from various manufacturing industries, waste incinerators, power plants, and so on.
When I went through the initial sessions, I had this unloading of all the stuff that was pent up that I never knew.
Yeah, great. That's great. I hope all of you have enjoyed the beginning of this webinar. So this particular video I prepared keeping in mind that today's topic is based on two things. One is science and second is spirituality. So some of the slides were for the science, innovations, and some of the slides were based on the spirituality. So let's come together. Let's try to explore it. So as all of you know, there is some impression of our country on the universe. the people in the Western countries, they think that India is a spiritual nation. It is a religious nation, which is not actually true, because India has crossed almost all the boundaries. And now the time has come, India is going to become the third superpower. Not only this, India has provided lots of great scientists to the universe and some spiritual good leaders also to the world. Now, there are two words here, religion and spirituality. Often it is misunderstood that both of these words are same, but little bit difference is there. First, we'll try to understand why this spirituality is needed. See, number of people who are going to the church, mosque and temples, gurudwaras and all that this number is increasing day by day. And therefore there is a overdose of ritualistic religion. Majority of the younger generation is blindly following the religion. However, greater part of this majority is ready to embrace the spirituality if explained in a right way. That means we cannot blame the generation that they don't know the religion and the spirituality. They are ready to accept, they are ready to embrace if we tell them in their own way what they can understand. Now, what is spiritualism? Spiritualism, is it science of spirits? No, it's not science of spirits. Yes, it's science, but it's not the science of spirits. Then what is spirituality? Spirituality is nothing but it's inculcating and imbibing virtues and qualities of divine being. Virtues, when I say virtues of divine being, that means these are the good qualities. So it is as good as refining our qualities in the spirituality. Spirituality is a science. It is also a science, but it is not a science of a materialistic word. It is a science of consciousness. And I call this as a science of higher consciousness. Spirituality is to understand the rules of the inner world. And ultimately, spirituality is in search of the Brahman, that is the ultimate truth, the ultimate reality. There are two words. One is the inner world and second is the outer world. That's the external world. Whatever we are living, that's the external world, that's the outer world. And what we don't see, what is there inside us, that is called as the inner world. We require science to see the external world, but through our senses, through the external world, we cannot realize the spirituality. To realize the inner world, we require spirituality. Spirituality, as I said, is a science of inner world, and that is seeking the answers for a lot of questions like, for example, who am I? I want to understand who am I, from where I have come and where I'll be going. After I leave my body, where I'll be going. And what is my mission here? If I'm living on this earth for 60 years, what is my mission here? The one who has sent me here, there must be some goal. Is there any God? Does God exist? If he exists, how does he look like? And if he exists, where can I find him? All these answers, they go to the spirituality. Now, let us make this simple, more simple. There are 100 trillion cells in a human body. In each cell, there are 1 million operations taking place every second. Now, when I say these two sentences, this is science. On the other hand, when I say who controls these cells, who controls their operations, who is controlling everything, then it means it's the spirituality. That means I'm talking about the same thing. I am talking about the cells in the human body. But when I'm saying that there are so many number of cells and there is a change in the cells going on in particular time, that is nothing but that's a science. But when I talk about their behavior and the controlling of these cells, that is addressing the spirituality. Science defines laws of gravity, law of thermodynamics, aerodynamics, friction, momentum, radiation, the law of conservation of energy. That's pure science. But on the other hand, if I talk the same things and if I ask who applies these laws on the Earth, on the moon, outer space, and to the distant galaxies? Who has created the rules governing the whole universe? Then it means I'm addressing the spirituality. So see here, the earlier example was concerning the cells in the human body, and the statements were made which were concerned for science also and for spirituality also. Here also the statements are made based on the laws of different physics laws. So these are the science related statements, and the same statements are made for the spirituality. Now you can see here, out of 100%, the matter what we can see is only 4%. That is, whatever is visible out of 100% is only 4%. And there it is written as a matter because it is belonging to the physical world. And it is explainable by the science. The science is explaining this 4%. The remaining 96%, it is divided into 73%, that's the energy. And that is unseen. So that's called as a dark energy. And remaining 23%, it's a matter, but that is also not seen. So it's a dark matter. So combinedly together, that becomes 96%. And that is not seen. So whatever is not seen is not addressed. It is not explained by the science. Science cannot explain it. It is explained by the spirituality. You need to have the knowledge of spirituality. There are some questions like, who is God? Whether he is the creator of science? Is there any purpose of spirituality? So first let us see, how do you define a God? God is not the one whom we see in the pictures. He is not the one whom we see in the temples. He is not the one whom we try to bribe for saving us, and not the one on whom battles have been fought for the religion. He is not certainly the God. But God is someone who is infinite in nature, who is omnipresent, who is omnipotent, who is omniscient, who is the creator of this universe. He is the maintainer of the universe, and he is also the destroyer of this universe. And he is the ultimate guide for the mankind on the right path. So whatever we look in the physical world, outside world, external world, we cannot call it as a God. God is a broad concept. It's a totally broad concept. We call him as Almighty. The meaning of this word that's called as Almighty, that defines number of virtues, divine virtues, what this Almighty has. And that's infinite, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, creator, maintainer, and destroyer. So this is again the difference between the science and the God. Science believes on the observed facts, whereas God, we talk about God based on assumptions, beliefs, and thoughts. The observations, of course, they are limited. Assumptions are unlimited. Thoughts are unlimited. Science is unpredictable, but God, it's unpredictable. Science, it is based on the experiments. It is limited to senses, but God is based on the individual intuitions. It is beyond the senses. Science is continuously progressive to infinite. It is day by day progressing, and it is progressing to the infinite. But if you see God, he himself is infinite. Science, it is measurable, and therefore it is mathematical, whereas God is immeasurable, and therefore you can say he is philosophical. So science of God is a thought process of converting assumptions into the observed facts. Now, very important question. Can science meet God? So there are three statements here, very nice statements. For those who believe, proof is not required. And for those who do not believe, proof is not possible. For science, God may be immaterial, and for God, science must be moral. And finally, the conclusion is, when science meets God, then peace to humans will prevail. That means ultimately, whatever the human being, the mankind is trying to find, that's the peace. That the real peace he will get whenever these two things, they meet each other, that the science and the God. Now let us first try to understand the external world, and then we'll go to the inner world. That's we'll talk about the spirituality. Now, to understand this external world, we require sensory organs, which we call in Sanskrit as Jnanendriyas. There are 5 Jnanendriyas. These are simply called as Panchendriyas or sensory organs. So these are ear, nose, your tongue, your skin, and your eyes. So with these sensory organs, we can feel the external world. But the characteristic of the internal world has remained a neglected subject because, as I said, it belongs to the inner world. So mostly it remains neglected. One more reason for this is that, see, our grandparents, they did not understand. I will not say did not understand it, but they have not given importance to that. Our parents also have not given importance to that. And because of this, we don't understand it. And therefore, our children and grandchildren will also not take interest into this. So we are missing something very, very important. Everyone understands the external world, and so we keep pursuing the betterment of our external world because it's physical, we can see everything, and therefore we go always towards the prosperity. We need something to explain the inner world, and that is nothing but that's the spirituality. It is the only thing which can explain the inner world, which we call as spirituality. And the first step to understand the spirituality is we need to know what is knowledge. How many types of knowledges are there? What is inner knowledge? What is knowledge? Knowledge, we call it as in Sanskrit as Vidya. So there are 2 types of knowledges. One is a spiritual knowledge and second is the worldly knowledge. That is the external world. The spiritual knowledge is called as Paravidya and worldly knowledge is called as Aparavidya. Aparavidya is the knowledge which we get from Shruti, Smritis, Itihas, Puran like Mahabharata and all that, Dharma Shastras. And Paravidya, that is the spiritual knowledge we get from Brahma Sutras, Aranyakas and Upanishads. Now, if we really want to understand the universe, then there are 3 things we should know. The first one is the Pancha Tattvas. We call them simply as Pancha Mahabhut. The second is Pancha Kosh. Okay. And third, one more thing is there that I will explain in the due course. The first thing is that what is Pancha Mahabhut? Pancha Mahabhut, as you can see here in the picture, there are 5 elements. They are called as Prithvi, Aap, Tej, Vayu and Akash. Prithvi is earth, Aap is that's a Jal, that's water, Tej that's Agni fire, Vayu that's air and Akash that's ether. So every element of this Pancha Mahabhut has influence on some or the other part of the body. And plus it has got a spiritual meaning. For example, let's say if you take the Akash, that's the ether element, then it's related with the body cavities, whatever cavities are there inside our body. So they are influenced by this element that's called as the Akash. Whereas the spiritual meaning of this ether is the consciousness. It drives our consciousness. So that's the spiritual meaning of this. So these are the Pancha Mahabhuts. There is a science behind this. Let's not go into details of that. The second thing what we want to understand, that's called as Prana Shakti, or it is also called as Prana Vayu. There are again 5 different Vayus. They are Prana, Apana, Samana, Udana and Vana. So these are 5 different Prana Shaktis. So they have got some defined positions in our bodies. Let's say, for example, the Prana Shakti, the Prana Vayu. The position of this is between the larynx and the top of the diaphragm. And the body part that is it is influencing on is on the respiratory organs or the organs of speech. Okay. If you say the Van, in that case, it pervades in the whole body. That is the main. And it regulates and controls the overall movements of the body. So when we understand both of these things together, that is the Pancha Tattva that we call it as Pancha Bhuta and Prana Shakti, then we can understand the existence of the universe. And there is third one, as I mentioned, that's called as the Pancha Kosh. Pancha Kosh, this is directly related with the neuroscience. So it is mentioned in the Upanishads, the Pancha Koshas. There are 5 koshas. Kosh is nothing but it's a Sanskrit word and that defines what you can say it's a layer. It's a layer. So 5 layers are there. So the physical layer, energy layer, mental layer, intellectual layer and spiritual layer. We call them as Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanmaya Kosha and Anandamaya Kosha. And this concept of Panchakosha, this is very parallel to the modern neuroscience in understanding the connection between the body and the mind. So here you can see one chart is there. I have taken this chart from, there was a chart in a school. So I have taken directly from this, that particular chart, school chart. Nowadays, the school education is also following this theory of Panchakosha because it is directly related with the comprehensive growth of a child. Because as you can see in the chart, the physical development of a child, it is directly connected with the Annamaya Kosha and the Pranamaya Kosha. The emotional development and the spiritual development of the child is directly connected with the Manomaya Kosha. The intellectual development of the child is connected with the Vijnanamaya Kosha. And the total experience of the person, the cultural development and the aesthetic development of the child, it is directly connected with the Anandamaya Kosha. So the school education is also following this Panchakosha theory for the comprehensive growth of the child. Now, as I said, this Panchakosha is directly related with the modern neuroscience. So here, as you can see, these 5 layers, they are one above the other. The innermost one is the Anandamaya Kosha, above that Vijnanamaya, above that Manomaya Kosha, above that Pranamaya Kosha, and the outermost one is the Annamaya Kosha, which we call it as a physical layer. And the innermost layer, that's the Anandamaya Kosha, we call it as a bliss layer, where actually we talk about the spirituality. Now, what happens at the time of death? At the time of death, the Pranamaya Kosha, it leaves the body. So as you can see, it leaves the body. So inside Pranamaya Kosha, there are 3 more. That's a Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya Kosha. Now, if the Pranamaya Kosha, it leaves the body, then obviously these 3 koshas which are present inside the Pranamaya Koshas, they togetherly live with the Pranamaya Kosha. And then what happens is that the Pranamaya Kosha, which we call as a life force, it selects a new Annamaya Kosha, because this Pranamaya Kosha is present inside Annamaya Kosha, which is the outermost one. That's a physical layer. So it selects a new Annamaya Kosha. That means it selects a physical body, a new physical body. And then it enters into that Annamaya Kosha and it establishes the connection with it. And this we call as a rebirth. This is a rebirth. So the concept of rebirth is very well explained by this Panchakosha theory of spirituality. So a simple question is that, can science explain the theory of rebirth? The scientists today also, they are struggling to explain the concept of rebirth. Still, that is not completely clear. But what happens when actually the rebirth takes place? This has been already explained in the spirituality with the help of this Panchakosha theory. A very, what you can say, a practical example here, there was a person, his name was Padmakar Vishnuvardhak. He recently died in 2019 and he was a Pune resident. He was, what you can say, he had a very good power on meditation. And with meditation, once he achieved the state of Samadhi. Samadhi, as you must have heard, the state of Samadhi is nothing but where no feelings are there, where outer feelings are totally zero. You don't experience any outer feelings and you totally enter into the inner world. So this person, Vartak, he achieved that state of Samadhi. And then in the state of, that was in August 1976. And then in the state of Samadhi, he found out the different things, what he could see on the Mars, some of the things on the Mars. And, you know, in September 1976, that is exactly 31 days after this Samadhi, NASA took the program of launching 2 satellites. One is Viking 1 and second is Viking 2. And that was the mission to the Mars. So in this particular mission, they tried to find out the things, different things on the Mars. And surprisingly, after coming back to the Earth, whatever report was published by NASA, the same findings were given by Mr. Vartak. So you can see, he could see the same things 31 days before the Mars mission. And see, this is, everything is published. This is published in the Marathi newspaper that's called as Lok Satta in August 1976, 22nd August 1976. It is also published in the national newspaper, the Indian Express, on 7th September 1976. And Mr. Vartak has written a letter to the American embassy mentioning this, and he has also written the letter to Prime Minister of that time, Morarji Desai, and President of India. So my question is that the Panchakosha theory, again like your rebirth theory, is explained by very well explained by this. The Samadhi state and the rebirth theory is explained by Panchakosha theory. So that's ultimately the spirituality. So again, the same question: can science explain this? Can science explain the state of Samadhi? What a person sees, what he cannot see in the external world, what may happen after some duration if he tries to experience before that. Can the science explain this? Like I said in the first slide, our nation has produced very good scientists also, and spiritual leaders also. And these spiritual leaders, some of them, they were scientists also. For example, here, as you can see, some of the spiritual scientists, for example, Sushruta, he is treated as the father of surgery. Charaka, we call it as a Charak Sanhita, he is treated as the father of Ayurveda. Bhaskaracharya, who is not knowing Bhaskaracharya? He is a spiritual scientist of India, a great one, and who has calculated the time taken by the Earth to orbit around the Sun for the first time. Then Aryabhatta, you must be knowing Aryabhatta. Aryabhatta is the Indian mathematician who has calculated the perfect value of pi, that is 3.1422 and so on. Vishwamitra, he has given the Gayatri Mantra to the universe. Patanjali, he has given the Yoga Sutra to the universe. These are all spiritual scientists that India has given. Baudhayan is another spiritual scientist, and he has given the Pythagoras theorem to the universe. Today we say in the school that Pythagoras theorem, this is the theorem which is called on the name of a scientist which is called as Pythagoras. But before Pythagoras stated this theorem, it was already stated by the spiritual scientist of our country. He is called as Baudhayan. There are lots of scientists who believe on God. It's not that because they believe, they are the strong believers of science, they don't believe on God. Very great scientists, they believe on the God. For example, you can see Max Born. He says, reveal to me the greatness of the creation and the creator. Max Planck, he is the physicist, as you know, Planck theory. For religion, God is at the beginning. For science, God is at the end. So clearly he states that for science, God is at the end. Ramanujan, Srinivas Ramanujan, he also says that an equation for me has no meaning unless it represents a thought of God. So he is directly also pointing to the God. Louis Pasteur, he is the founder of microbiology. So he also says that science, little science takes you away from God, but more of it takes you towards him. Galileo is there. I recognize even more clearly that human intelligence is a work of God and one of the most excellent astronomer. So there are lots of good scientists. Kepler is there. Michael Faraday. Who doesn't know Michael Faraday? James Maxwell is there. Blaise Pascal. All these are very great scientists. Copernicus. Isaac Newton. Then you have, Albert Einstein. Einstein says that I only trace the lines that follow from God. So these are all great people. They have given very good theories to the universe. And not only that, they believed in the supernatural power, which we call it as God. But they also admitted that he is a God. Today, see, the problem is that science admits that there is a supernatural power existing. There is a supernatural energy existing. But it is a little bit confused to call it whether it is a God or not. But these people who have given very good theorems, laws to the universe, they admit that they are following the God. These are some of the inventions that science has given to the universe. So many inventions today we see the scientists have given to the universe. Cell phone, computer, television, airplane, electrical bulb, steam engine. Lot of inventions are given there. But even after that, we see the man, the human being is not happy. Everyone is not happy. Lots of disbeliefs are there, sorrows are there, everyone is unhappy. So what exactly has gone wrong? Something has went wrong. Even after so many good inventions, technological inventions, which should have made the life of a person very easy, but something has gone wrong. What is that? So you can see here on the slide, lot of pollution, air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, thermal pollution, noise pollution, light pollution, radioactive pollution. All these are ultimately resulting into unneeded things. Some things are shown here, the nuclear bomb explosions, cyber threats. That's the current thing that our world is facing. Depression, virus, then we have global warming, stress, and suicidal thoughts, traffic, everything. All this it has happened. So the question is, what went wrong? So Martin Luther King, he has given a very good sentence. He says, we live in an age of guided missiles. We live in an age of guided missiles and misguided men. The missiles are guided, but they have been guided by misguided men. So let us try to understand how science, while guiding missiles, ended up misguiding men. Scientists become, see, these are some of the thoughts. Doesn't exactly mean it's the same thing. Scientists, they become overconfident due to their technological success and assumed that they could explain everything without God. The common people, being impressed by technological gadgets, assumed that everything scientists must say must be true. Scientific spirituality. So let us accept two things. One is science is not guided by spirituality, and the science which is not guided by spirituality, it became self-destructive and it became the liability rather than the asset. So as I said, so many inventions have been made by the scientists. They should have been actually the asset to the universe, but because they were not guided by the spirituality, and therefore they become the self-destructive and they become the liability to the universe. A very interesting slide here, as you can see here. Darwin's theory of evolution, everyone knows. So Darwin's theory starts from basically the, what you can say, the fish, that is the entities which are living in the water. From there, the evolution starts, and then it continues to amphibian. Then it goes to the mammals living on the land like boar, and then it goes to half man, half animal. Okay, that's gorilla. We can say gorilla, and then it comes to the a dwarf person, human but a dwarf person, physically less developed person, mentally well wise but physically less developed person, and then that is evolved into what you can see, a person which is having a weapon in his hand. He started doing all these killings and all that, and finally the evolution stopped at the perfect man. That is the evolution, what is described by the Darwin's theory. Now if you see the Dashavatara, as all of you know, these are the 10 different avatars that Vishnu has taken in different yugas. So out of this, what I just described in Darwin's theory, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, these 7 stages, I can directly apply it on the Dashawataras. As you can see, the first stage of Darwin's theory, that's the fish, started with the evolution of fish. So that directly corresponds to Matsyavatara. Second, that's amphibian. That's amphibian is what? That's a tortoise. So here that is directly connected with the Kurma avatar, the second avatar of the Dashavatar. The third one, that's the boar. That's a mammal living on the land. That's boar. I will directly relate it with the Varaha avatar. That is the third avatar. That is also the boar. The fourth one, the half animal and the half man, according to Darwin. And for Dashavatar, it's a Narsimha avatar. It's the same thing. Then coming to the dwarf person, physically less developed, dwarf, I will directly correlate with the Vaman avatar. Then next comes the man with the axe weapon with his hand, in his hand. I will correlate with the Parshuram avatar. That is the next one. And finally, as Darwin says, the perfect man is the last evoluted thing. And this is according to Dashavatar, it's the Ram Avatar. He is the perfect man. So directly this Dashavatar explains the Darwin's theory. To explain, to make this webinar more interesting, I've taken some case studies so that you can understand it very well. So the first case study I've taken it for the what you can say, the scripture that's everyone knows, that's Bhagavad Gita. This is the first case study. I call it as a psychotherapy. So most of the counselors today also, psychiatrists, they use this therapy that's called as psychotherapy. So it's basically a study of psychology. It's a counseling, it's a psychotherapy. I will not go into the story of that because everyone knows this particular thing. The gist of Gita that's universally accepted, that is based on the karma, Jnana karma, Nishkam karma, and Akarma. It is the well-known acclaimed theory. So a lot of inferences you can take from this. So let's go one by one. The first step, as I said, it's a psychotherapy. So there is a patient and there is a counselor, and the patient comes to the counselor and he says that I am experiencing the anxiety and so many things. I don't want to do anything, and the counselor treats him. So actually in Mahabharata, the Arjuna says that I am your disciple, but you guide me because I don't know what to do. And then Lord Krishna gives him the knowledge, and finally at the end of Bhagavad Gita, the Arjuna says that the clouds have cleared now. My senses are back. All your gift with my doubts have been vanished, and I'm ready to act you as direct your disciple. I'm ready to fight. So this is a complete process. So this process, it is I'm presenting it here. It is directly documented by a counselor. What you can say, a psychiatric doctor. So here, the chart which the doctor prepares, the counselor, it is exactly looking something like this. First, the information of the patient, he is the Arjuna. The name of the counselor, he is Lord Krishna. How many number of sessions? The counselor mentions that each time the patient visits a counselor, he says the second session, the third session, the fourth session, and he writes down the observations. In case of this number of sessions, there is a single session. In single session itself, everything was cleared. Report, it's a single case report. We call in modern day terminology that it's a level 5 evidence. And immediate conclusion, what the counselor takes, the conclusion he comes to a conclusion, we call it as a first-hand report, is that there are no symptoms of psychosis. There are no symptoms of bipolar disorder. There are no symptoms of what you can say, depression, right? That is the history, the past history. There is no past history of the person, that's Arjuna. Is there any urgency of treating this particular patient? Yes, there is a urgency, and that's why number of sessions is only one. Why? Because this is a battlefield. This is a crisis of intervention, and therefore the counselor has no time. It has to be treated urgently. What is a diagnosis? What is a treatment? What is a diagnosis the counselor makes? Counselor in the sense Sri Krishna. It is acute, transient, situational adjustment disorder with symptoms of anxiety, single panic attack, depression with predominant guilt. This is the diagnosis that the counselor has made. There is anxiety, depression of negative thoughts. There is a guilt in the patient because he is saying that I'm preparing for the sinful act of killing my own family. There is a death wish also the patient is making. So after going all through this, after recording all these things, the counselor, that is the Krishna, he treats on the healing process. That's called, we call it as hypnosis. And he presents a lot of ideas in front of Arjuna, which are directly recorded as the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. He says to the Arjuna, you worry about events you are not supposed to. As you remove torn clothes and wear new ones, Atma also lives. Everything born must die. Your dharma is to participate in war. If you die, you will go to heaven. All after giving all this to make Arjuna convincing the last hypnosis action, what the counselor, that's a Krishna, makes is the Vishwarup Darshan. The therapist, he induces the state of hypnotic trance at this point. And when the patient actually gets hypnotized, he gets convinced, the complete disease, what he was going through, was said to be treated. So this is the first case study. And this is not my case study because it has been universally accepted by most of the counselors in universe today also. Second is the case study of science of mantras. There are lots of mantras, lot of people chant every day. We consider that this is related with what spirituality. Normal, that's the normal thing. But most of us, we don't know that this is related with the science also. Then that's called as a mantra vidyan. It's a mantra vidyan. So to understand the science behind these mantras, first we should know the science of vowels, whatever vowels are there in these mantras. So the vowels here you can see in the slide, that's A, we call it as then A, and then two dots there, that's we call it as aha, then E, U, U, that's O, O. All these are vowels which are present in the mantras. And these vowels, they directly control some of our body functions. Okay, for example, let's say you say the E, the I, the vowel I. When it is pronounced, then it is directly having the effect on the throat and its connection with the brain. Okay, if you say O or O, in that case, the body function that is controlled by this vowel is directly the genital organ and the muscles. So this is the science of vowels. Now, what is mantra? Mantra is nothing but it is the chanting which is done in a rhythmic manner, in a particular rhythmic manner. So therefore, it's a powerful carrier of the cosmic energy of the sound. Okay, and it's associated with the sonic waves, which expand. That is their property in a specific pattern. So that is the science of mantras. But if you talk about the spirituality of mantras, it's a spiritual tool. It is a spiritual tool to liberate the mind from the ignorance, illusion, and evil instincts. And sonic vibrations of each these mantras through this syllable exist. We understand the universe. So I have taken a very simple mantra to understand what are the benefits of chanting this mantra. This is a well-known mantra which is present in Mahabharata. Mahabharata has actually two parts. One is Bhagavad Gita and second one is Vishnu Sahasranama. So Vishnu Sahasranama is a mantra and it has got lots of chanting benefits. That's a mantra vidyan. So here you can see directly here. It's very surprising to know that these mantras have such a big power. They have such a big power effect that they can control the sea erosion. They can prevent the tsunami. It's very surprising to believe. We cannot believe this, but this has happened. This is the reality. There is a medical practitioner here. You can see here on the slide the picture of that person. This S.N. Padiyar, and he stays in Karnataka state in the district of Kundapur, that is in Mangalore, near Mangalore. And you can see that particular picture where there is a road and that divides one river and the sea, that's the Arabian Sea. And that river is called as Saupernika River. And what used to happen is that in a particular period, there was an erosion of the sea. Because of the sea waves, there was a lot of destructive happenings in the river, and which destructed the lives of the people, their houses, their farms and everything. And therefore, this person, Mr. Padiyar, who is a medical practitioner, he is a researcher also. He tried one thing. He collected 100 volunteers. He explained them this particular mantra. And these 100 volunteers, they performed the chanting of this mantra for 48 days, every evening. And to the surprise of this is that the noted effect was also noted. I will come to that. The second campaign was taken in 2006. And the latest campaign was taken 3 months back, that is in January 2025, where around 10,000 people there involved. and they chanted this mantra simultaneously at one time, 3 times, continuously 3 times. And it's very interesting to know that the level of the sea is gone behind. That means the sea has gone behind a particular distance. That means this mantra effect, the vibrations, the energy that is created by this mantra vibrations, it has generated such a beautiful effect that is affecting the sea waves also. It is controlling. So this is practically, this is proven. The plant growth also, you can see the tulsi plants are planted here, small plants are here, and there are speakers. You can see there are speakers here on the 4 sides, 200-watt multi-dimensional speakers. And then experimentation is done where this particular, what you can say, this model, this particular mantra, it is played on these speakers for 2 hours a day, morning and evening, for the duration of 2 months. And then the observation is made on the tulsi plants, and the observations are very surprising. That means the growth of the tulsi plant, what it could have been if this was not done after 2 months, is totally different than these tulsi plants which have grown on the environment of this chanting of this mantra. And this particular article is published in the World Journal of Pharmaceutical Research. There is another engineering research journal that has explained the science of mantras, the body healing. Again, Vishnu Sahasranama, what effect it has on the human body. It has shown there the depression, anxiety, stress level has gone down. The systolic, diastolic, and pulse pressures, which are measured, they have shown the improvements. And the spatial memory and the verbal memory, the levels are also improved in this. So this is nothing but it's a sound therapy. It's mantra chikitsa, it's a sound therapy. Now, when we chant these mantras multiple number of times in particular cycle, that's called as a japa. It's called as japas. So there is also a science of japas. Okay. Laboratory experiments have shown the physical strength of rhythmic sound. This is rhythmic. Mantra is rhythmic. But when this rhythmic sound is performed in circular motion, fastly, in cycles, that generates a centrifugal force. And that is explained in the effect that we all know in physics as a Doppler effect. So the science of japas is directly related with the centrifugal force of physics and the Doppler effect. So the energy centers also. So this is very, very interesting. 1 hour's disciplined practice of japa yoga would augment the life of sadhaka by about 500 breaths at least. That means if you practice this japa of any particular mantra for 1 hour, then about 500 breaths you are going to get as a gift. Second is the second thing, what happened in World War I, the coordinated and the rhythmic marching of a troop of German soldiers. It produced a sound waves of a frequency which was higher than 10⁵ vibrations per second. And they were going on the bridge. And then that particular strong iron bridge that collapsed. This is because of the vibrations that took place. And if these japas are repeated continuously at a constant frequency and amplitude, they can produce so much thermal energy as would be produced by a boiling water. This is very, very surprising. This is very experimental. That shows clearly that spirituality, how it is connected to science. The third case study is regarding the science, the modern science of Om, what we call as a Brahma, that's Om. So Om, there are 3 letters, A, U, M, that's Akar, Yukar, and Makar. So when I want to connect this Om with the modern science, the letter A is connected with the hydrogen, the letter U is connected with the oxygen, and the letter M is connected with the carbon. And when this hydrogen is converted by burning to helium by process of nuclear fusion, it is believed that this sound of Om, actually it happens. That's a modern science of Om. There is a lot of research also made on this Om. There is a scientist who's called as Dr. Hans, and he has developed a particular instrument, and it is called as tonoscope, which is based on the principle of sonic transformations. And using this particular instrument, he has seen that a particular energy is converted into visual image, that is electrical energy is converted into visual image, And he's invented that Om is a mantra that generates very specific geometrical images. So you can see here. So at the back, you can see there is one plate, and on that plate, some matter is placed. Some powder is there. In circular pattern, it is placed, and then this particular mantra is chanted. And now here you can see the vibrations, the geometrical images, the patterns, which are formed by the sound Om. So this is also experimentally proved. Another well-known examples, what you can see where the science meets spirituality, is their weapons which were controlled by the mantras in earlier Mahabharata and all that. So much has been talked about spirituality. Spirituality explains everything, but there are some things which science cannot explain. So like two things I asked you. Can science explain rebirth? Can science explain the state of samadhi? The same thing. There are three more things I want to ask you. Examples. I have given the examples here. So there are lots of ragas, and it is believed. It is not only believed, but it is proved that when these ragas are played, then some particular physical development takes place. For example, when you play Rag Megh Mallar in a particular way, in that case, the rain starts. So can science explain this? Can science explain the Divya Drishti that was given by Krishna to the Sanjay? These things are not explainable. Science cannot explain these things because these are related with the inner world. You should have the knowledge of the spirituality. The next case study is based on the yajnas. We perform these yajnas, home havan, whenever we have some good functions at our home. So what is this? This is based on the fire. The main entity is fire. We call it as Agni. And Agni is acting as a mediator between the God and us. Okay. So there is Agni Kunda. What you can see here, it is in the pyramid shape. And why it is in the pyramid shape? Because it generates and stores a special energy field that possesses the bacteriostatic properties. That means it is refusing the bacteria, the germs which are present surrounding that particular Agni Kunda. So it acts as a generator of unusual energy fields, and it has a connection with cosmic energy fields. Lots of significant health benefits of yajna, they have been proved. So whatever smoke is being created by the yajna, it has been found useful in healing the nervous system disorders like asthma, heart disease, lung infections, skin diseases also. Then, there are some matters which are mixed together when this homa havan is performed. For example, a ghee is there, sugar is there. And when you mix both of these two things together, ghee and sugar, and you put it in the Agni, that means you burn them. So that creates a smoke. And this smoke, it kills the germs of certain disease. And that directly enters into the glands related with the windpipe. And you get that benefit of this. So a lot of significant health benefits of yajna have been proved by the science. Agnihotra mantra is there. What is performed? Agnihotra mantra, when it is performed, you get again lots of health benefits. This is one very good example of how Agnihotra can benefit a human being. 1984, 3rd December was a black day in our country when the gas tragedy occurred in Bhopal. The poisonous MIC gas, it was leaked from Union Carbide. Several people, they died, they hospitalized also. There were two families. One is a Kushwaha family and second is a Rathod family. They were staying very near to this factory, Union Carbide factory. But none of them were even a little affected by this gas, the leaking of the gas. And when it was tried to find out what is the reason, because they are not affected anything of this poisonous gas, it was found that they performed regular Agnihotra in their house. And that Agnihotra, it acted as a powerful antidote to this poisonous environment. This is not my findings, because this has been published in the newspaper that is called as the Hindu newspaper on 4th of May 1985. You can all verify this. You can go to directly archives. This is the spirituality behind the yajnas. We have talked about the science of yajnas. This is the spirituality behind the yajnas. The habit of donation, idam na mama. See, when we do some homa havana, then we perform, we put something, we put some matter into the fire. And when we put the matter, we say idam na mama. So this teaches a man is that nothing in this world belongs to himself or herself. That is the main spiritual thing that is taught by this spirituality of yajnas. The main epilepsy is also cured by this science of sounds. See, because we are not having enough time, so I may not go into the details of this. So already I have explained you the science behind the chanting of mantras and japas. So it is directly connected with the science of sounds also. So here in the picture, as you can see, the brain mapping images are shown here. In the first image, the brain has some green color, some waves are there, and the second, the red colors are there. The first image shows of a person who is unstressed, and second image is of a brain image of a person who is stressed. So there are brain waves, different brain waves. There are different 5 types of brain waves, and they have got different frequencies also. And then using this technique of EEG, the brain mapping can be done, and you can actually check what are the different transitions the brain waves make. For example, when you do a Brahmari pranayam, when you perform that humming bee sound in that case, then that case, using the EEG technique, it is observed that the breathing is elevated, that the alpha wave, there is a rise, 40% of rise in the alpha wave, because the relaxation is started, and it has decreased the beta waves, which are directly connected with the alertness. That means the person is going to be relaxed instead of alert. This has been observed by the scientific methods. Science of Gayatri is there. A lot can be actually explained of Gayatri mantra. Complete session can be taken on Gayatri mantras. It's not that easy to explain it in 1 or 2 slides. But only thing I will tell that is that our body consists of 72,000 glands, which we call as nadis actually. And all these glands, they open in our mouth. And when we chant the Gayatri mantra, our tongue actually touches all these openings. And because of that activates the corresponding glands. And because it activates the corresponding glands, whatever functions they are controlled by that, they are performed. So Gayatri mantra is directly connected with the most of the body features. The chanting of Gayatri mantra significantly affects the atomic nervous system, the brain waves generated directly that affect the memory levels. Lots of things are there. Vedas also directly connected with the spirituality. So as you can see here, the gravitational force, we say that Newton has discovered the force of gravitation. We say that theory of relativity, that is put by Einstein. Newton in 17th century, Einstein somewhere near to that, he has put the theory of relativity. But if we go into the spirituality, if we see the scriptures of Indian tradition, then we can see that Adi Shankaracharya, they have stated this particular principle of gravitational force well before Newton. Maharshi Vedavyasa, he has also mentioned the principle of relativity in Srimad Bhagavata 3,500 years before Einstein. So we today say in books that Newton has discovered this, Einstein has discovered this, but unfortunately we don't know that our Indian spiritual leaders, they have already invented all this some 1,000-2,000 years before. Another very good case study here I can put in front of you, but not in so much detail because of the time. Spirituality is directly connected with the quantum physics. That is the current branch of physics. So there are 3 different principles of quantum physics. So this is the first one. The second one, see, there is a very well-known what you can say, experimentation. That's called as observer effect in quantum physics. So this observer effect, it is experimentally proven by using this experiment that's called as a double slit experiment. And that explains the spirituality behind that. The observer effect, as you can see here on the left hand side, you can see there is a person. He is looking at that dot. It's a particle. So he is looking, the particle is localized in the space. And that person in the second diagram, that person has turned his face. He is not looking at that particular particle. So what happens to that particle? It gets spread and it becomes a wave. So this is called as an observer effect. Okay, so it is well explained by the science also, and is explained by the spirituality. We call it as a consciousness directly. Then there is a concept of a quantum entanglement in quantum physics. So science also explains this, and spirituality also explains this. Quantum superposition is there, where both science and spirituality, they go hand in hand. There are some spiritual healing therapies also. We must have heard of, you must have heard of them. Some people must have experienced these therapies also. The first one is called as the chakra therapy. And the second therapy is called as the Reiki therapy. So these therapies are well-known, proven therapies. But see, the thing is that science doesn't actually accept these therapies openly. Science is not saying that there is no outcome of this therapy. There is a good outcome of this therapy. Whoever has taken this therapy has really benefited. And therefore, no one can deny this therapy. But it is not scientific, and therefore science will not accept this therapy. So there are lots of things which have been actually proven, but because it's not connected directly scientifically, science is not accepting that. But all these things are accepted by the spirituality. So what you can see is the spirituality, it's a superset, and that contains the science. So that's Reiki also. Reiki, where you can see the healing is performed without touching the body. And finally, coming to the last point, the hot topic of today's technology, that's artificial intelligence. So whether this artificial intelligence AI is connected with the spirituality, actually it's not connected with anything, nothing to do with spirituality. AI and spirituality are not connected. No way they are connected to each other. But AI can be used as a tool for spiritual learning. There are so many apps which are driven by AI for meditation and mindfulness. There is something called as ethical AI. You must have heard of this, ethical AI. So here in this case, AI can analyze brainwave patterns with EEG, and it can provide the insights into the ethical decision making. That means if a person is not knowing what to do, what is ethical, what is unethical, then that decision making can be improved with the help of AI by using this EEG concept. Okay, the Karma Yoga and also all that can be used, AI can be used for this. Machine learning, which is a branch of artificial intelligence, the ML models can predict emotional states and recommend the spiritual practices, different states. But again, a very important, the base question, can AI ever be spiritual? Is it possible for artificial intelligence to become spiritual? While AI lacks self-awareness, emotions, and consciousness, it can serve as a powerful tool to assist humans in their spiritual journeys. It's a tool, that's the only tool. The real question, but still the real question remains, can AI truly experience spirituality? Or is it merely a facilitator for human spiritual evolution? The second question is, can machines be conscious? If AI mimics human intelligence, does it have a soul? We say that AI is going to replace everything. So if it is going to replace the human intelligence, the question is that whether it is having a soul. These are some questions which the science cannot explain, can answer. So ultimately, finally coming to a conclusion, there is a need to integrate both science and spirituality. There is something good in science, there is something is good in spirituality. Science has to accept spirituality, spirituality has to accept the science. And when they both go hand in hand, then the universe becomes happy. So the last one is stop fighting, because we have fought enough wars on the lands. We are still fighting. We are fighting wars on religions. Still they are going on. We are fighting wars on economy. USA, China, as you are reading in daily newspapers. The material quality of life is on the rise, but the spiritual quality is falling rapidly. To stop this endless fighting, we need spiritual leaders today. That is the need of today. Eat, drink, and marry has become the philosophy of past. In future, scientific spirituality will become the religion. The materialistic and worldly man will give way to moral and spiritual human being. So now the time has come for science to embrace spirituality and usher in bright era in the near future. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for such a wonderful session. Now it is a time to deliver a vote of thanks. I would like to express my sincere vote of thanks for the organizing committee, Professor Beldar sir, Professor Lavte sir, Professor D.B. Zadu sir, Professor Bhole sir, and Professor Lavte sir. Now I would like to specially thanks Dr. Rajesh Prasad sir, who has idealized this, who has conceptualized this webinar, and who has motivated all of us to deliver this kind of a session. Sir, we have noted what is concept of Panchakosha. We have also noted the problem that cannot be addressed by the science. We have also noted the problems or the issues related with the reincarnation and samadhi, how Gita can be mapped with the psychology caselets, how the mantra and Om affects the sound waves. I mean, how it affects the environment. We have also noted how what is meaning of yajna, how the Agni, that is fire, improvise the atmosphere and the environment. We have also learned that the gravitational force, Pythagoras theorem, theory of the relativity, how and who has innovated or devised this. We have also noted the very important concepts which are related with the quantum theory, the typical statement, that is whether the cat is dead or alive. Sir, with this, I want to conclude that the session is over, and thank you so much for attending this session. There are many participants who are not part of Bharati Vidyapit. I especially thank all those participants who have specifically joined this session for understanding or listening various concepts delivered by the Dr. Prakash Devle sir. Sir, thank you so much for the insightful session. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Sorry, disconnected by mistake. Actually, due to the lack of time, it's not possible to answer the queries. A lot of people will have a lot of queries in their mind, and it's very obvious because the topic is the real topic of that particular level. So what I will suggest is that either you can drop a mail to me or you can put a message on my WhatsApp regarding your query, and I will try to address your query as far as possible as per my knowledge. And if you are staying very near to me, you can visit my college, you can visit my place, and we can have directly interaction one-to-one, and we can get our queries solved. Okay, so thanks once again everyone who has participated in this particular webinar, and thanks everyone, thanks who has given me the opportunity, or principal, the management, and everyone who has given the opportunity for me. Thank you everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.